So Agatha All Along creator Jack Schaefer came out in a really big and long interview with Variety and talked about everything that happened with the finale. And in a sense, she gives us her own breakdown of the ending of the show, the last 2 episodes, which is great because she created the show. She was involved in every process along the way, including the script being written. And this interview is great. She talks about some of the twists in the show. She talks about Agatha and Rio's backstory, what it was, how we didn't see it on screen. She kind of talks about how they had this idea of how they were going to meet, but didn't show it on screen. They talk about Agatha's son, Nicholas Scratch, who the father could be, and she gave a very interesting answer on this, and it sounds like Marvel Studios has plans for it. She also talks about why there was no post-credit scene for Agatha All Along, and I think the answer is really going to intrigue people. And she actually did reveal an alternate post-credit scene for WandaVision that didn't make the cut. So as you can see, a lot to dive into in this video. Let's break it all down, and we'll also be talking a lot more about Agatha All Along, doing a lot more videos explaining some things. So if you want to catch those videos and stay up to date on all the recent MCU news, rumors, and leaks, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. So the first thing they mention is something that I think really does humanize Agatha a little bit more, especially when it comes to her son and what she did immediately after Rio/death came and took her son. It's very easy to think that in that moment she was very rageful and vengeful, obviously very hurt. She lost her son, of course. That's devastating. And because of all these emotions and the anger, she goes on and she tries to trick the witches using the Ballad of the Witch's Road that she wrote with her son so she could kill them. Although that is what she did, there is a deeper meaning behind this. According to Jack Schaefer in this article with Variety, she did this in remembrance of her son, which is weird, killing witches to do that, but it's Agatha. They state Agatha wields the ballad to con unwitting witches into letting her drain all of their power, and as a way to remain connected to her son. And to be fair, yes, that is what she did with her son. She would lure witches in with her son while he was alive. And at that time, it wasn't luring them to try and find the witch's road. It was other means that we saw in the final episode. So she simply turned the ballad into the new thing that she did to lure witches into getting their powers. And since her son made up the song, which she clarifies in this article, so there's no confusion about that, her son and herself made the song. So since her son made up that song, it's kind of her way of continuing on what they used to do. Although he's not there, she can sing the song that he wrote. So it is kind of touching, even though she is luring witches to be killed. It's still kind of nice to know. Then they ask a pretty big question. They state, shifting gears to Rio/death, did you have more of the backstories worked out of what her relationship with Agatha was like? And Jack Schaefer said, we did. We talked a lot about their meet cute. We had these really pretty visuals of Agatha killing people and then seeing Rio across the bodies. Like that line, they met over corpses. I mean, I saw it in my mind. It was really beautiful and also quite funny. And then the room took it in a direction that then they lived together in a cottage and we talked at length about it to the point of, is Rio Nikky's father? We went down those paths and they were very gratifying to explore. I think there's more story there, but we were already biting off so much with the Nikky sequence that was vital to this story that it didn't feel like we could flash all the way back to Rio and Agatha before Nikky and then get into Nikky. It sort of threatened to tip the boat over, but I think all those discussions informed what you do see of their relationship. So this confirms right here in the beginning, they had some visuals actually going on of Agatha killing people and then Rio as Death shows up standing over their bodies, and that's how they meet. And from there, honestly, it's pretty easy to see how Death would kind of fall in love with Agatha because Agatha just kills a ton of people for a very long time, might I add. So it's easy to see how Agatha would get her attention. She would appear to her, introduce herself to her. And since Agatha, like she says in the show, kind of likes the bad boys, it's pretty easy to see that if a cosmic entity kind of took a fancy to you, you would reciprocate that back. So according to Jack Schaefer, that's how they met, over corpses, literally over Agatha killing people and then Death showing up to take their souls beyond. Which leads us to the next question that Variety asked. So who is Nikki's father? Speaking of Nikki, or Nicholas, her son, Nicholas Scratch. And this is interesting. She says, that's a story for another day, but ultimately for me, it's irrelevant in this story. They then push back a little and ask, do you know who it is? And she says this: the truth is that even if I did have an answer, I don't cover it in this property. So it is fodder for a story for another day that I maybe don't have control over. Now, this is incredibly interesting because she's really evading answering this question, but she totally knows. She never at any point in time says, I don't know. She says the truth is that even if I did have an answer, I don't cover it in this property. So you know what? I'm not going to talk about it. But she basically is saying here, look, I know who it is, but Marvel Studios has other plans for it, and I can't say right now. That's for them to do down the road. And I think she makes that pretty obvious when she says it is fodder for a story for another day that I maybe don't have control over. We already know that some sort of a series with Wiccan and Agatha finding Tommy is going to happen at Marvel Studios, and Billy likes to ask questions. I'm sure he's going to ask once again about Nikki, considering the last time that he saw Agatha alive, not in ghost form, but alive, is this how Nikki died? He himself, Billy/Wiccan, still doesn't know how Nikki died. So he's going to want to know that, and he's going to also want to know about the relationship between her and Death, and of course who Nikki's father is. So these answers are going to officially come later on during the series where Billy and Agatha's ghost go find Tommy. But I like this answer because it does essentially confirm, look, you're going to get that later. It's in a project that I don't have control over, but it's coming. And as far as that whole line where she says, I made you from scratch, well, she says that she came up with it and she just loved it a ton. It's her favorite line in the show because of the ambiguity of it. And she says she welcomes interpretation. So it doesn't necessarily mean anything. Like a lot of people think it could mean immaculate conception. She just had the baby herself. But it very clearly does seem like there is a father of Nicholas Scratch, and he's somebody who doesn't want to be name dropped right now. I know a lot of people are thinking maybe it's Mephisto. Maybe it is, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, here's something very interesting about the post credits. Variety said to Jack Schaefer, basically every Marvel Studios project has a post credit scene, but Agatha all along did not. Why wasn't there one? And this is what she said. She said, that's a Marvel decision. I know nothing more than that. So she doesn't even know why there wasn't a post-credit scene, but according to her, basically Kevin Feige said, yo, no post-credit. Now, my initial thought about this goes back to an insider report from Daniel RPK where he stated that pretty much everything Marvel does from here on out is going to be directly related to the multiverse saga. This doesn't include things that they have already done, they've already shot, they've already filmed, they've already edited, like all of the shows that they have recently announced, but basically talking about all of the new things that they're going to develop between Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. That stuff is just going to be straight up multiverse saga connecting to all of the stories. So they might have chose to not do a post-credit scene because really this story with Agatha and Billy is probably going to be continued after the multiverse saga. So they might not have wanted to give us a post-credit scene teasing something between Agatha and Billy, or perhaps the Scarlet Witch or something along those lines, since we'll have to wait a pretty long time to see those stories finally happen again. And she does say that she did write a post-credit scene. She said, yes, I wrote a number of tags because you always do in every Marvel everything. She said that they did a bunch, but ultimately she was told that they weren't going to do a tag or a post-credit in the show, so it didn't matter. However, she does tell us about a post-credit for WandaVision that wasn't used that she wrote. The post-credit that we got was Wanda with the Darkhold. That obviously directly set up Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, but her post-credit that she wrote would have set it up just the same. It would have been different though. Variety asks, is there one tag that wasn't used that you are particularly proud of that you can tell me about? And Jack Schaefer said, yes, I'll tell you this one because it's been a long time, and so maybe the statute of limitations is up on it. And that just means that she could probably talk about it now and not get in trouble. She says, initially, Doctor Strange was going to appear in the tag for WandaVision. It's Wanda sitting on the porch of that cabin and she's rocking peacefully. And you know how Strange can do those circles around someone and make them go somewhere? The circle starts around her like she's going to be teleported somewhere and she stops it. So Strange has to show up in person. I just loved that so much that Wanda would be like, no, I'm not going to go where you want to teleport me. You're going to have to come to my door. It was a good one, but another tag took its place. And the last thing that I'll leave you all with in this video is that Variety said, speaking of Wanda, is there anything you can tell me about the status of a Wanda movie? And Jack Schaefer said, I know nothing of a Wanda movie. That's what I can tell you. Very straightforward, very direct. I don't believe her. I think we are going to be getting a Wanda movie at some point in time, a Wanda solo movie, but I think the events of the multiverse saga will happen first. I think there's no time to do a Scarlet Witch solo movie before Avengers Doomsday, and I think they want her in that movie, so it just makes sense to bring her in that movie, have her get a pretty decent story in the Avengers films, and then have her get her solo movie in the new saga, which I really want to see because I really want to see her be a part of the X-Men, Avengers, Fantastic Four storyline. Maybe they could even go the route where Magneto is her father, but we'll have to wait and see on that. In the meantime, Agatha All Along was fantastic. Let me know what you think about what Jack Schaefer said about these specific scenes of Agatha All Along and what was almost a post-credit scene for WandaVision. Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of the latest MCU news. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.